Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's presentation on how to get your student ready for the college application season. My name is Gurna Benz, and along with Linda Vang, Andrea Thompson, and Sarat Munjaluri, we are Bay Area college planners. I am the Northern California financial aid expert for the Johns Hopkins University CTY program. So any of you families that have attended a Pathways to College enrichment weekend probably saw me at Mills College or at the California Institute of Technology last September. Our company also lectures at Stanford University for the SPLASH program. That would be for kids that are gifted in science and math. And we are also working with kids in the Young Entrepreneurs at Haas School of Business at Cal Berkeley for the past 4 years. So this evening, I'm hoping to get all of you some great information that you can use in your college planning endeavors, whether it's a proactive plan for your freshman, sophomore, junior, or if you're the parent of a senior that's getting ready for the application season. Tonight's topics, I'm going to talk about how to apply for financial aid, the main applications that you have to use, the due dates of all of those applications because they do vary from school to school as well as the financial aid applications themselves, whether or not your student should apply for early action or early decision, and how to qualify for financial aid, and of course the financial aid forms that need to be completed. So we have a lot to cover this evening, and we're going to get right into it. Now, many times when we start the financial aid workshops, whether it's focusing on maximizing your need-based eligibility or how to complete the FAFSA or how to complete the various applications for admission, many of the parents would come to us and they'd always say, well, we're not going to complete any of the financial aid forms because we never qualify because we make too much money. And so even though we were known for many years as the EFC guys, in other words, people would say, hey, go see Mr. Benz and Mr. Everts because they helped me lower my expected family contribution, which gave me more scholarship money. Now, we still adhere to those proactive planning strategies, but we've also incorporated a key part of the business model, and that's looking for schools that will help gifted kids based on their academic merit. In other words, we're looking for schools that are going to help your students with merit aid eligibility. And here's an example. St. Joseph's University, this student's father was a sergeant at a local police station, I guess. Is that what you call them? At your local police department. His adjusted gross income, or let's say his earnings, were $155,000. The student's mother was an independent computer software engineer, and she made around $60,000. So together, their adjusted gross income was $215,000. They also had significant asset valuations totaling $315,000. So even though this family had income and had assets, you can see that St. Joseph still awarded them, or the student I should say, the Presidential Scholarship for $16,000, the United Scholars Grant for $4,000, the St. Thomas Grant for $1,000, the Excellence Award for $2,500, and they did offer a federal direct unsubsidized loan for $5,500 for $29,000 of total aid from a family who would probably not qualify for anything at a local public school. Next is Boston University. This student's father is a commercial architect for a major department store, and his adjusted gross income was around $160,000. The mom was a retired teacher, and she was only living off her 403B pension of around, I would say, $14,000. But you can see that Boston University still offered the student the Boston University grant for $10,400 and the Charles River Housing grant for $3,400 and along with some additional loans and work study, the total financial aid award was $24,300. Also generous, considering the family would not qualify for any of this at a public school. Lastly, Cornell University. Now this is a family that has significant need because the mom was a real estate agent and the dad was a contractor. So they did have a low expected family contribution. As you can see, the student's contribution was only $4,315, and the parents' contribution, or what they had to pay on an annual basis for their kid to go to school, $4,400. But you can see that Cornell gave them a full ride. The Cornell grant for $45,067, employment earnings, and federal work study. So $47,067. Well, I would say full ride minus the small loans that the parent and student had to take out. The reason that I included Cornell in this example is because Cornell is a school that meets 100% of your need. And that's very important. You know, we as college planners are striving to look for schools that are most generous in how they help you maximize not only your need-based eligibility but also your merit-based eligibility. It's expensive no matter where your kids go. Basically, this slide shows you an example of the cost of college. Now, if you look at the left-hand side of the bar, the $20,000 value would be indicative of, let's say, a public school. And when I'm talking or referring about how much college costs, we're talking about all costs associated with it. That's just books, rooms, board, living expenses, miscellaneous, whatever it costs for your student to spend 1 year at school. And then make sure you give a conservative estimate on how much that tuition is going to keep going up, let alone how many kids you have, and multiply that times 4 years. So at a public school at $20,000, you're looking at $80,000 if your student is going to graduate in 4 years' time. Currently, the California State University graduation time rate is anywhere between 6.5 to 7.2 years. So you have to be aware of that. And then if we look at the right side of the bar, let's say $30,000 to $35,000 would be indicative of the cost of the University of California, whether it's UC Berkeley, UCLA, etc., the 9 campuses. And then, of course, sky's the limit for privates, $50,000 to the reigning champion of Sarah Lawrence College, which is tipping the scales at over $67,000 per year. The admissions applications, now since we are based in California, 9 out of 10, if not at least 10 out of 10 kids are going to apply to at least one California State University, a University of California, and that's why we have these listed. The CSU Mentor is the application website for all 23 campuses, and that URL is csumentor.edu. You can start applying October 1. Applications for the California State University system are due November 30. For the UCs, if any of the students want to apply to a University of California, those applications are also available starting October 1 and are also due November 30. The primary difference between the CSU application and the UC application is that the UC application is going to allow your student to extol more of their virtues as to what they have done over their 4 years of high school. And most importantly, they are going to require 2 long answer essays. Now, those prompts haven't changed significantly over the years, So do look at the UCSA prompts to determine exactly what your student has to write about. The next bullet point is the Common Application. The Common Application is the main website for more than 500 of the private schools around the country. So if your student is applying to one of the selected private schools, they can log on to the Common Application to find out if the school is using the Common Application, when the Common Application has to be submitted by, and also what kind of supplemental forms, essays, or questions are the students going to have to answer above and beyond the main Common Application. So I know that sounds a little confusing. So in other words, your student's going to complete the Common Application for, let's say, Boston University. And when they're done with that application for Boston University, they are then going to have to complete supplemental forms for that school along with the regular application itself. Lastly, school specific. If it's not a CSU school, if it's not a UC, if the school's not on the Common Application, then you're going to have to go directly to the school's website to complete the form for admission. The website will tell you if there's any essays that are due and all the other requirements that are necessary in order to meet the application deadline. How do you apply for financial aid? Any student that wants to be eligible for financial aid has to complete the free application for federal student aid. Now, once again, this is the form that many of the families, when we first meet, say that they don't want to complete because they don't feel that they are going to qualify because they make too much money. Well, we've always said you have to complete, you should complete the form, because if you don't, you're not going to be eligible for the low interest rate federal direct loans. You may not be eligible for merit-based scholarships, and you may not be eligible for alumni scholarships. So it just makes sense to complete the forms. And another thing is, it's not when or how, let's say when the form has to be completed. The main thing that parents should be concerned with is how they are going to position themselves to maximize their need-based eligibility. And we're going to go into that a little bit later. For any of the students who are looking at going to a more selective private school, such as Stanford, Princeton, Yale, Brown, etc., they may have to complete a supplemental institutional financial aid application called the CSS Profile. The CSS Profile is much more invasive. It's going to ask questions such as, what is your parent, or what are your parents going to pay for college? How much are your grandparents going to pay for college? And they're also going to ask for asset and income valuations that are normally excluded or sheltered from the federal application. Another different aspect of it is that it will look for 3 years worth of tax information as opposed to just the 1 year worth of tax information that the FAFSA is going to require. Many times people have compared completing the CSS Profile to completing a corporate tax return. You really have to know all the information, and you have to make sure that information is correct. This is an indication of the UC admission stats for the class of 2010. We had the admission statistics going all the way back to 2007, but I think you're going to get the point with just a couple of slides. This also shows the hierarchy of the UC system, where Cal Berkeley is the most selective, followed by UCLA, San Diego, Davis, Irvine, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, Riverside, and Merced. The average SAT to get into Cal is 2031 out of a possible 2,400, and the average GPA is 4.19. Now, unfortunately, those are national statistics. So the students that reside in California sometimes, or unfortunately, have a more difficult time getting in because of the influx of out-of-state students. And only last year did the UCs actually come out and state that, yes, we are going to admit anywhere between 20 to 30% of out-of-state students. because those students are going to pay 300 times more for the cost of tuition. So unfortunately, it does make it a little bit more difficult for local students to get in. The next stat shows the class of 2011, and you can see everything still remains the same, and the statistics have only changed slightly. 2012 statistics should be coming out, and when I spoke at the UC Berkeley Haas School of Business Alumni Association weekend, the Dean of Admissions for Undergraduate Studies actually said that they had over 60,000 applications received, and their percentage of accepted students was hovering around 20 to 21%, so it became even more selective. And that's going to be the trend. Here's another, I guess, a slide or a statistic for the freshman admission profile. So if your student has a perfect UC GPA and a perfect SAT score, they basically have a 50.9% chance of getting in. I know that does surprise a lot of people. And if your student is part of the state honors program, which is called the ELC, or the eligibility in the local context, that percentage rate goes up to 59.1%, which is still good, but once again, you can see how competitive it is to get into that school. So what are the admissions counselors looking for? They're looking for the quality, quantity, and level of coursework taken throughout your entire high school program, the strength of your courses within the context of your high school. They want to make sure that the student is pushing themselves, not just freshman, sophomore year, but all 4 years. A progressively challenging academic program, including the number of and performance in college prep, honors, AP, IB, and transferable college courses. Mastery of academic subjects is demonstrated by high grades and exam results, and presence of summer session, intersession courses that enhance academic progress. And this is an example of a strategy that we help many of our parents with, and that's keep your students busy and have them take some college courses at the local JC. They could take college courses for either enrichment purposes, or they can take them after their freshman, sophomore, junior year so that they can gain college credit. Because everyone's students, or let's say most kids, are taking AP classes, which is great. Kids should challenge themselves with a rigorous and challenging curriculum. However, remember that they have to take that AP exam in May, and if they only score a 3, they may only get 1 unit, or they may not get any units towards college credit. If they score 4, maybe they'll get 2 or 3, and if they score a perfect 5, well, theoretically they should get all the college transferable credits that's coming. But that's not a guarantee. So we've always recommended have your kid take 1 or 2 college courses, maybe sophomore, junior year, because it's only going to reap the benefits. I mean, it's a win-win all the way. Sustained participation in activities that develop academic and intellectual abilities. Sustained participation are the 2 buzzwords. It's extremely important that your students remain focused as to what they volunteer in, or what their extracurricular activities are in. Sustained participation. It's much more powerful on a student's resume or brag sheet if the student has done something consistently over 4 years, as opposed to them having 100 different opportunities all over the place. Intellectual curiosity, honors and/or awards in recognition of academic, intellectual, creative achievement. That would be indicative of the ELC program that we just discussed, the State Honors Award. A sense of initiative both inside and outside the classroom. They want students to be a little bit more worldly. Leadership in school and/or community service organizations and activities. Once again, keep your kids busy at all times. And lastly, if this applies to you, overcoming life challenges relating to personal or family situations, social or economic difficulties, lack of educational opportunities, or challenges particular to the urban or rural environment. In other words, schools are going to look at students that are coming from, let's say, an impoverished or an urban public high school, as opposed to a school that has a much higher API and has more resources. This is an actual award letter from UC Davis dating all the way back to 2007. I don't know if you can see that. So the way that you would interpret these award letters, this is basically the culmination of years of proactive college planning. In other words, the student has done their best to maintain their GPA, tried to get the best test score on the SAT or ACT, applied to the school, the parents have done their due diligence in arranging their financial affairs to maximize their need-based eligibility, and this is the direct result thereof. Back in 2007, the total cost of attendance at UC Davis was $20,814. They expected the student to come up with $4,000 worth of self-help expectation, and the parent contribution, or what we call EFC, the expected family contribution, was only $7,230. A $7,230 expected family contribution is like hitting the lottery. Many of the families that come through my door have expected family contributions exceeding $100,000 per year, which means that the schools will have the audacity in sending these parents letters informing them of how much money they're not going to qualify for. This particular family, the mom was a nurse at Kaiser for 18 years, made up $140,000. The husband just started a new company in automotive repair, had huge losses his first year, and thus negated her positive income, drawing it down so that their expected family contribution based on their adjusted gross income only came up to $7,230 for total contributions equaling $11,230. So their financial need was $9,584, right? The cost of attendance minus their total contributions equals their need. So what Davis offered them was the $3,008 federal direct loan and the Cal Grant for $6,576. Total estimated financial aid was met, zero remaining cost. That's as easy as it's going to get, and that's what everyone should strive for. This is just another UC Davis award showing how much the cost of attendance has increased in just 3 years. So it went from $20,000 to $29,259. Different family, but same type of an analysis, I guess. Each of this student had a self-help expectation of $2,589. The parent contribution was $12,866. That totaled their total contributions. Their need was $13,802. UC Davis met all of it with no remaining costs. Once again, short and sweet. That's what you want. Financial aid, who is eligible? Myths versus reality. If your income is too high, is that a myth or a reality? Well, we can help families that have a Category 1. We can help all families, irregardless of income. If you're a Category 1 family, in other words, a family that's always going to be eligible for financial need because of low income and asset values, that is going to be based on the amount of money that each school is going to help you with. And if you have a low AGI and low asset valuations, you're always going to be eligible for maximum need. Number 2, or a Category 2, is a family whose adjusted gross income is between $100,000 and $150,000 and whose asset ceiling is, let's say it doesn't exceed $70,000. With proactive planning, that family is still going to be need-based eligible at some public and many private schools. And then lastly, a Category 3 family is a family we can help even though they make too much money and have too many assets. We would put together something called a tax favorite scholarship, where we would show them how we could save them money by planning for college, and those savings would be on their taxes, thus a tax favorite scholarship. Grades are too low. Is that a myth? Yes and no. We already found out how competitive it is to get into a UC, so our goal is to teach our kids to do the best they can. Now, you're still going to be eligible for a Cal Grant Award with a 2.5 to 2.99 GPA. However, you're not going to realize the maximum value. So you can still be eligible for financial aid with, let's say, a low grade, but we don't recommend it. Own a home. Is that a myth? Yes and no. If you own a home and your student's applying to a public school that subscribes to the federal methodology, that home or the equity therein is excluded from the financial need-based calculation. It's sheltered. However, if your student is applying to any of the selected schools that subscribe to the CSS profile, those schools will want to know how much equity you have in your home, and they will assess it against you. So you have to know that and be aware of it. 8 is for special groups. That's malarkey, as I like to say. 8 is for anyone that takes the time to learn the strategies and how to maximize your need. It's an easy process. Well, once again, yes and no. It is getting easier, but there are still a lot of things that families have to know, and that's what we do as college planners is keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening. And lastly, school people can help. God bless the school counselors. Last year's statistic was around 997 kids for one counselor. We like to think of ourselves as a supplemental arm in helping counselors meet the objectives and getting the kids into school. Our goal is we're going to ask for your federal tax returns. School counselors will not. We're going to ask for your investment statements, your income tax. We're going to your portfolio, mortgage statement, bank statement. We're going to ask for all that because we want to know exactly how much you have, where's it at, and how is it going to count against you in the formula. The reason this is up here, top 10 jobs, is to show you where the employability is. One of the reasons is where your kid's going to go back to if they graduate and have no job. They're going to move back in with mom and dad. Now, for many of you, that's probably wonderful, and you want to welcome them back into the nest. There are some families I know that never want to see their kids again. So I think it's important that your kids are equipped with how to find jobs, what are the statistics, are there going to be openings, and we do that using our proprietary software, which lists all of the careers based on the U.S. Labor Department and statistics as to how many job openings, what's the trend. Now, the 20 worst paying college degrees of 2012, as you can see, if you go down this list, many of these careers are some of the most admirable careers known to mankind. Now, unfortunately, my 2 girls, I'm blessed to have an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old, want to do half of the careers that are on here, or they want to get these degrees basically. They like art, they like to dance, they like music, they want to help people. One likes to be an interior designer, and there's nothing wrong with that. We want to nurture their passion. The reason for this slide is if you know your kids are going to do this, at least give them the option of going to a school where they can get a certification and or a master's or postgraduate degree so that they can increase or maximize their earning potential. And then moving right ahead to the best paying college degrees. The common denominator here, of course, is math. So, study math, do well, and this kind of money that you're going to be eligible for. How is a family supposed to pay for all that? There's only 4 ways to pay for college. Number 1 is cash. That could be money in savings, in 529. This is all after-tax money. Now, a 529, I think, is a great overall part of a college funding portfolio. But you have to make sure that you started at 529 early on so that you could withstand any market volatility that happened, withstand any losses. You do not want to start a 529 freshman year in high school where if they're going to be in aged index funds, they're going to be tied to muni bonds, or let's say, for example, they're going to have a 1 to 2% rate of return. So start it in a timely manner. Number 2 is loans. The federal government, if you have no plan on how to pay for college, will be more than happy to give you a parent loan for undergraduate students. And that I have an illustration for right here. Hopefully you all can see this relatively well. Here we have a senior in high school who's getting ready to apply for college. He's going to go to let's say a $57,000 a year school. Now he's eligible for the Federal Direct Stafford loan, so of $5,500 per year, and it actually does increase by $1,000 up to his junior year. So I just rounded the numbers up. So if you parents have no plan on how to pay for college, the 50 represents 50,000. So we have a $50,000 loan for his freshman year, which will cost at 7.9% fixed 10-year term $604. Now, if the student loves the school and is going to return, you're going to have to take out another $50,000 loan, which will total $1,208, right? 2 loans at $604. Comes back his junior year. Now you have 3 loans at $604, totaling $1,812. Last year, senior year, hoping, praying to God he gets out in 4 years, 4 loans at $604, totaling $2,416 for 7 years until the freshman loan drops off. And that, if you think about it, that's how expensive it can get. And I also want to show you, let's see. So 50,000 times 4, $200,000 worth of principal. For those 4 loans, you're going to pay $89,920 of interest that you may not even be able to deduct. That's expensive. And the PLUS, or the parent loan for undergraduate student, is still the least expensive loan that you can get. Assets, I've always said you have to have something to get something. So depending on what you have, you may want to leverage that to pay for college. Maybe taking out a home equity line of credit or cashing out the equity in your home is going to, if it's less than 7.9%, should make fiduciary sense. Retirement, I would never take money out of retirement. As any financial planner will tell you, you will never realize the lost opportunity cost if you take money out of retirement. Scholarship is a hope. We still help kids apply for private scholarships, but it's not a plan on how to pay for college. Go to a lesser school or not go at all, those aren't options. The best shot, this slide indicates what a school will help you with based on their percent that they help you with. For example, if you're going to a school that costs $20,000 and your expected family contribution is $5,000, that means that school has to help you with $15,000. The problem is, if that school only helps you with 50%, then that balance of $7,500, guess what? Gets added to your original expected family contribution, giving you a new higher contribution of $12,500. I mean, you have to know what each of these schools are going to help you with before applying. How to get more need-based aid for college. I have a 10-minute story I can go on about this. Bottom line is, don't save money in your kid's name. Money in a child's name is assessed at 20%. Money in your name is assessed at 5.64%. Make sure you take care of that before completing the financial aid applications. How to negotiate for the best possible package. Some schools miss awards, some schools under award. Don't be afraid to ask for more money. This particular mom, look at the date in the top right-hand corner, April 3rd. Single mom, human resource director, made $85,000. St. Mary's was generous enough, offering her $28,538. 3 days later, she lost her job. Company went bankrupt. Look at the date in the top right. We did an audit verification. We asked the school to audit her so that we can show her or show the school that she was unemployed, show them the EDD check disbursement. St. Mary's came back, doubled her award almost, $44,283. Be proactive. Don't wait around. Holy Names University. Love Holy Names University. Holy Names University is a go-to school if your kid isn't quite sure if they want to go to a JC first, where they want to start, or if they just want to go to a great liberal arts school. If you're in our program and apply to Holy Names University, you get a $2,000 scholarship in my name just for being enrolled in our services. So it's always good being endorsed by a private Jesuit school, and we're very lucky to have that affiliation with them. University of Oregon, once again, it's about award letters and where to apply. University of Oregon, great school. However, if the student doesn't have the minimum GPA requirement, Even though this family needs $24,601, University of Oregon's giving them none of it. They're giving them all $41,751 in the form of a loan. This is the winding up our last couple of slides. UC Berkeley, kid got into Berkeley, which is a pretty much an impressive feat unto itself. However, the parents still had to come up with $22,850 a year. Not too bad, but it's a pretty significant cost. Same student got into University of Arizona, got to go for free because he was a National Hispanic Scholarship finalist, National Merit Scholarship finalist, $120,000 free. Where did he go? Did the student go to Cal and burden his parents with $88,000 worth of debt? Or did he go to University of Arizona and graduate debt-free? Of course, he went to UC Berkeley and basically burdened his parents with $88,000 worth of debt. Winding it up, these are 10 questions that you need to ask yourself. If you have more than 7 out of 10 yeses on this slide, then you're relatively prepared for college. Pat yourself on the back. Maybe just give us a call so that we can answer some of your questions. If you have less than 7 questions answered yes, then consider that a failing grade, and you're probably going to need some help from a college planner. After the end of this, we are offering a 1-hour college assessment. You can contact our office. My assistant will set up the college assessment, let you know what you need to bring. We'll discuss your specific situations and give you advice as to what you can do either on your own or whether or not it would be a good fit for us to work with you. Our prices range anywhere from a couple $100s to several $1,000s depending on what level of service you and your family require. Why should you come to the assessment? If you own any of these assets and you find yourself in these situations, if you have cash, stocks, mutual funds, bonds, those are considered non-qualified assets, are going to count against you in the financial need-based equation. If you have equity in your home, own a rental property or second home, insufficient or no plan to cover college costs for all your kids, no idea what your child wants to do for a living, no idea which major to select, or no idea regarding job prospects if you have chosen a major. Lastly, little or no desire to tackle this process on your own, contact us. We'll discuss your situation, give you hope, and tell you what you should do, and we will tell you what we can do to help. If you sign up for the assessment, we're going to calculate your expected family contribution. I'll determine what category you fit into, and we'll go over strategies that'll benefit your academic and financial assessment. Or situation, I'm sorry. Now, the rule about the assessment, it's good for 2 weeks. So once you view this, come and see us, contact us, we'll get you on the books. You may call us. You have to bring all the documents, and you have to bring your spouse. No spouse, no assessment. I can't tell you how many times I got calls from spouses that didn't attend and would ask me questions like, why do I have to move to Oklahoma? And I never said that. That got lost in translation. I said Oklahoma helps with National Merit Scholarship finalists and gives you a lot of money. So we do need both parents to be there. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, fill out the workshop evaluation form online, contact us, email us. We'll get you on the books, and hopefully we can give you guys some sound advice that'll benefit you in your, once again, your college planning endeavors. Thank you for attending this webinar, and please don't hesitate to contact us at your convenience. And once again, best of luck, and we hope to talk to you soon.